When the Supreme Court ruled in Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission that corporations are persons entitled by the U.S. Constitution to buy elections and run our government, many of us who care about the principles of democracy, first and foremost among them that the people rule, felt as if we had been punched in the gut by Andre the Giant, kicked in the privates by the steel toe of a Gene Simmons boot, and Mike Tyson was making a meal out of our ear. It's hard to imagine feeling worse than that, but President Obama is working to see that you do. The Obama administration is brokering a secret global deal that combines all of the worst elements of NAFTA and Citizens United, shoots them up with steroids, sprinkles in a speedball, and codifies these principles into a trade agreement that is in fact much more than a trade agreement. The trade agreement is the Trojan horse, the roofie to bore you and put you to sleep, and when you wake up, a global corporate coup will have taken place, creating a parallel system of justice where 3 private attorneys would oversee a kangaroo court set up to defend corporate interests that the laws of all countries signing on to what is known as the Trans-Pacific Partnership would be subservient to. Now, the TPP is a lot of things. It emboldens the farming practices of corporations like Monsanto. It empowers big banks and Wall Street interests. It threatens the rights of working people, it will increase the cost of medicine, and it will end the free and open internet as we know it, among other things. But of all the things the TPP is, known and unknown, let's just focus on the 3 things you need to know now. Number 1, it's a secret. While parts of the TPP draft have been leaked, the Obama administration is brokering this deal behind closed doors and aggressively pursuing an agreement that, if the text were in fact shared publicly, the deal would be impossible to sign because the opposition to it would be so great. But who has time to sit down and parse through 24 chapters of legal babble, bicker, and balderdash? That's what we have elected officials in Congress for, right? Yes, well, about that. As Lori Wallach and Ben Beachy wrote in a New York Times op-ed on June 2nd, while Congress has constitutional authority to set the terms of trade, so far the executive branch has managed to resist repeated requests by members of Congress to see the text of the draft agreement and has denied requests from members to attend negotiations as observers, reversing past practice. This is a Congress we're talking about. These are the gals and guys, by and large, who are total yes men for corporate interests. And if you can't find allies there for the TPP in that group of swine, then what exactly are you selling here? A few days ago, after navigating a labyrinth of red tape, Congressman Alan Grayson was allowed to read the text of the agreement in a private room, with no aides present, and under the conditions that no notes could be taken, no copies could be made, and the contents were classified as top secret. The second thing you need to know is that the TPP makes corporations more powerful than governments. Say that out loud and to yourself and let it sink in. The TPP makes corporations more powerful than governments. As Kevin Zeese points out, even though the public and the media cannot see the texts, and select members of Congress only get very limited access, 600 corporations have been advising the president and suggesting amendments that they have full access to the documents. This includes some of America's worst corporate citizens: Monsanto, Walmart, Bank of America, JP Morgan, Pfizer and Big Pharma, Cargill, ExxonMobil, Chevron are among them. In other words, corporate advisors to what Matt Taibbi famously called a great vampire squid wrapped around the face of humanity, relentlessly jamming its blood funnel into anything that smells like money, gets to read and craft the text, and you, me, and just about everyone we know, including our so-called representative officials, are locked out. The third thing you need to know about the TPP is the most important thing. We can stop it. Obama wants to fast-track it through Congress this October. Hell no. If you want to help stop the TPP, visit popularresistance.org and sign up. If you want you and all your friends to stop the TPP, share this video on your networks far and wide. Hashtag #HellNoTPP or hashtag We Need a Democracy Movement to Stop This Shit. Or make up your own hashtag. I'm Dennis Traynor Jr. This is Acronym TV. What do you stand for?
You may know of and you may not know of, but the wonderful, the Raging Grannies that you're going to sing for us tonight, right now.
Although some troops will be coming home soon, they will be replaced by contractors and drone killings will continue.
Oh, we are a gaggle of grannies, urging you up in your fannies. We're telling you now, we're to fight wars that are unending. The country is broke. This isn't a joke. No more war. When Mama keeps on lying and he shows no remorse, but boys and girls are dying. Obama must change the course, so we may be a gaggle of grannies, but we've gotten off of our fannies. We'll only think just so we sing in one voice for no more war. We really mean it. No more war. And we mean business. No more war.
TPP is the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Have you heard of it?
Passed a trade deal worse than NAFTA that once again hurts the people of the world.
This is a song written by Kirtland and Alice. Have you heard of TPP? It's a secret you can see. Bye-bye unions. Trans-Pacific Partnership, all involved, keeping those lips. Bye-bye public health. It was think that it will unleash Wall Street. Corporations will change laws through deceit. Pharmaceuticals with glee keep their drug monopoly. World AIDS care. Bye-bye. Our officials have agreed to concede to its needs. Bye-bye clean air. Pacific countries, east and west, make TPP the scariest. Generic drugs. Bye-bye. Clean air, clean water, and indigenous justice. Non-GMO foods all banned on their list. They are in the company plan that the TPP will ban. Bye-bye, all right.
You have song sheets there, so if you want to sing the next one with us, it's to that tune. My little playmate, come out and play with me. In this case, BFF stands for Best Friends Forever.
Cronies are not our BFFs. Don't want us to be free. Make deals like TPP. That's Trans-Pacific Partnership, to be clear. The jobs that we have here will have no more. Clean air and water will soon be luxuries. Farewell to workers' rights in TP paradise. That's toilet paper, revving up climate change. Our world they'll rearrange once unconstrained. We are the enemy, that's 99%. And we must make a choice. Let's generate some noise for human beings and the environment. Let's show the 1% the exit door.
Raise the roar for Tilton Nora.
Good evening. My name is Linda Rousseau. I'm with the Peace and Justice Task Force. I'm one of the co-chairs. Lorene Gruber is my other chair. Stephanie, come up here. Stephanie Lowe. I just want to acknowledge Stephanie from Sierra Club, Peace and Justice. We put this thing together with about 33 other groups. And everybody's listed on the back, and we thank you very much for your sponsorship and being part of this movement to do something about TPP.
Yes.
Adam, can I have you come forward, please? Okay, Adam Weissman, I turn it over to you.
Hey, can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, thanks so much for coming, everyone. We're going to be throwing a lot of information at you, so I'm going to just get right into things here. Hi, my name is Adam. I work with a coalition of organizations called Trade Justice New York Metro. We're an alliance of groups who've been working together, many of us for over a decade, to oppose trade agreements like TPP for many of the reasons that you're going to hear about tonight. So we're just going to go right into the speakers right now. We're going to have 4 panelists tonight. Speaking to us first will be Elisa Simmons, who is the National Field Director at Public Citizens Global Trade Watch. After that will be Kenneth Paris, who's the Chief Economist at the Communication Workers of America. Then Ilana Solomon, who's the Trade Representative at the Sierra Club. And finally, Manuel Torres-Rocha, who is the Associate Fellow of the Global Economy Program at the Institute for Policy Study. So without further ado, I'll just turn it over to Lisa.
Thank you, Adam, and thanks everyone for coming out tonight. It's a real pleasure to be here with you. I'm just going to give my normal disclaimer in the beginning. It doesn't matter how many times I talk about the TPP, I get really upset about it. And so I apologize if you feel some anger in my throat as I go through this, but this is a real affront to democracy and all of the issues that we care really, really deeply about. And just by a show of hands, so I have some kind of context for who knows about this. And can you just raise your hands really quickly if you've heard about the TPP? Wow, that's great. Okay, so my job is to give a really brief overview about the agreement, and it might be some new information because there have been developments over the past couple of months. So for those of you who know a lot, there may be some added information for you. So I'm going to give an overview, and then my colleagues are going to dive into some really specific issues. And so for those of you who know about the TPP, you know that it's the most secret trade agreement that's ever been negotiated, right? We don't have to have access to the text. The public doesn't have any access. Members of Congress who have constitutional authority to approve trade deals, members of Congress do not have access to the text. And we all know that members of the media are also locked out. However, there are over 600 corporate advisors who get to sit in negotiations and have access to the text and who are able to have input into what the text is, right? So while we can't see anything, there are folks from Monsanto, Pfizer, Walmart, right? All of those listed companies in really shaping this agreement. Now, when I think about trade in a traditional sense, right, sometimes it gets kind of boring to think about international trade. It's about tariffs, it's about exports and imports. The administration will tell us time and time again, it's going to improve manufacturing jobs, this is good for us, this is good for us, this is good for us. But when I stop and think about the Trans-Pacific Partnership and look at the text that we've seen, because even though this is being negotiated in secret, there have been some leaked texts. And so we know that what we're going to be talking about tonight, we know from the leaked text, okay? So when I look at that, I don't see a whole bunch of those traditional trade things like tariffs and exports and imports. What I see is a whole bunch of non-trade stuff specific to public services that corporations want to take over. Of the 29 chapters of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, of the 29, only 5 are about not like traditional trade matters. And I'm actually going to show you the list as I get into the presentation so you can really have a sense of what we're talking about here.
Can't see it.
So, who's in the TPP? So right now, it's the United States, Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, and Vietnam. And we know very recently that Japan has said that they want to join, and it's expected, even though we're getting reports almost daily that it's not realistic that they'll join the talks in July, but they're really trying to join the talks in July. So in addition to all of these countries, Japan will be next. What'd you say? It's showing up in a list interested in joining negotiations, I think. Oh, I'm sorry, well, okay. They will be involved in July, if not in July, definitely after that, the next round of negotiations. So what I said before is that, the TPP really isn't about trade, but it's a binding international governance, global governance system. And I'll talk more about that when I get to something that's called investor-state dispute resolution, which I think is the thing about the TPP that makes my blood boil the most. For those of you who know about this, I think you might agree. So, getting back to the non-trade chapters and the trade chapters in the TPP, right? Because if I just stand here and tell you this is not a trade agreement, this stuff is really, really bad, if I say that enough times, I kind of sound like a conspiracy theorist, right? So we're going to lay it out for you right now. Of the 29 chapters, right? The non-trade chapters, we're talking about government procurement, investment, services, financial services, intellectual property, visas, temporary movement of natural persons. Isn't that immigration? Wow. It sounds like it, right? What is this doing in a free trade agreement? Regulatory coherence, competition policy, labor, supply chains, the environment, transparency, which is a whole other issue that has to, that gets to a lot of what the Raging Grannies was singing about in terms of generics and being able to afford medicines. And so these are all things that are public services, right, that corporations want control over. And so they use free trade agreements as backdoor mechanisms to make sure they can get these things approved. The only thing that in the trade chapters that are traditional are market access for goods, customs, trade facilitation and capacity building, trade remedies, subsidies, blah, 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 all the things that we expect. On top of all the things that we know that aren't really about trade, there are 3 mystery chapters that they won't tell us anything about. They won't even tell us the titles of them. They won't list them anywhere. So on top of all the crazy things, the really, really scary things, there are 3 mystery chapters out there that we don't know. And at Public Citizen, we like to use really funny images. And so the TPP, we're saying, is a Trojan horse for non-traditional policies, many of which were rejected in state legislatures and in Congress. Limits of internet freedom. Who remembers the SOPA fight, Stop Online Piracy Act? Right? Some folks, so we fought that through Congress, and we won. We won. What's showing up in the Trans-Pacific Partnership now is that they're trying to take SOPA and control the internet through the back door because they know they can't get it past Congress because we already won. So all of the things that we fight for, right? All of the things that we fight so hard for to shape the way that we want to live in our communities. What our parks look like, what our environment is like, what kind of labor standards we want, how we want to treat our neighbors. All of those things that we fight for in the traditional way, corporations, when they figured out that they lose and they can't do that, they turn to these trade agreements to try to slide those regulations in and slide those policies in through the back door. So in addition to issues like internet freedom, there are provisions that would give greater property rights to foreign firms, State laws would be subject to direct challenge in foreign tribunals. I'm going to spend some time about that, a little bit of time talking about the foreign tribunals. There's going to be limits on financial service sector regulations. There are even provisions there that would ban buy American and buy local procurement. Right? Crazy. And then on top of that, most U.S. Food that's imported doesn't meet standards already, right? About 1% of the food that comes in actually gets inspected. It's really scary, right? So we know that a lot of things could be coming through that don't get inspected. We're getting food from countries that we know have really bad history when it comes to exporting their food. For example, Vietnam has one of the worst records in terms of food safety. But all of a sudden, we're going to get a whole bunch of shellfish in from Vietnam, and that food is going to be flooded into a system that is already under-regulated. So these are the things that we're talking about with the TPP. Last thing I'm going to talk about very quickly is the system that's called the Investor-State Dispute Resolution. This is, and believe me, believe what I'm going to say right now. It's so unbelievable in many regards. But this system, what's being proposed under the Trans-Pacific Partnership is a system that takes corporations and rises them to the level of actual countries. Okay? So now a corporation can sue a government if that corporation thinks that somehow that government's domestic policies, whether it's federal, state, local, right? If those policies prohibit their expected future profits.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding. This already exists. This system exists under other free trade agreements. NAFTA, Peru FTA, for example. And I know my colleagues are going to give some examples, especially on the environmental front, of the dangers of the investor-state system and what's happened so far. I've got to wrap up. When I say that corporations sue governments, I'm saying that corporations, when they don't like our laws, they take our tax dollars to fund their profit because they don't want to abide by our laws. Colleagues will give examples, but just so you know, so far, there have been over $3.5 billion worth of taxpayer money, not from the United States alone, but around the world, given to corporations who don't want to obey health laws and environmental laws primarily. So I hope that's it's a brief overview of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, but I hope you found it helpful, and I'm happy to stay and answer any questions you may have.
Everyone has to wait for technology, right? Okay. My name is Ken Paris. I'm from the Communications Workers of America. I want to thank Stephanie and Laura for inviting me, and they said talk about something. So, if you're on the street and you do a poll or you read polls out there, what's the number one issue that people are going to say faces the United States today? What is it? Jobs. Jobs. That's it. That's what they asked me to talk about. So, let's get to the meat. I'll get back to this stuff in a moment. All right. Can people see this? Yeah. If you can read it from the back row, you get a free motor vehicle license. All right. What it shows is comparison of daily minimum wages between different countries. And that's the only thing I could find that you could compare the different countries to that was out there in terms of that. So, the big bar there is the United States. And our minimum wage is $58 a day. A our minimum wage for a full day's work is $58 if you're lucky enough to earn the minimum wage and you have a full-time job, right? All right, 8-hour day, you get your minimum wage, $58. Malaysia, which is in the Trans-Pacific Partnership, is $8.70 a day. China, which is not in the TPP, they earn a legal minimum of $459 a day. Now, Vietnam is like one of the most important countries in the Trans-Pacific Partnership. They are a key player here. And they are the low-wage alternative to China. In Vietnam, the minimum wage is, for a day, is $2.23. That's not $2.23 an hour. It's not $2.23 until your lunch break. It's $2.23 a day. And that's the most important one of the most important countries in this Trans-Pacific Partnership.